and while we're in London, of course, we're going to have to go to what seems at first a really positive area of London, in the sense it's where people go and they make happy memories. They may go out for birthdays or anniversaries or just for a date night with a loved one. And that's into the West End of London, where the theatres are, the theatre district, and also the Leicester Square, where we famously in England quite often they have the movie premieres for films. And they're kind of symbolic of the entertainment industry. Okay. Now, in the West End, you get musicals, yeah. You also get plays. Now and again, you get variety entertainment. That element doesn't really matter too much. Again, Leicester Square, it's films. It's more, pre-recorded rather than live. But what they all have in common is that, as an outsider looking at a distance, this is a world of glitz and glamour. It's a world of look at what you could aspire to. It's on one level, but deep down people do have that little desire, the majority of people, that they want, when we were young, a lot of people went, I want to be a pop star or a spaceman, and that dream dies as they grow up because it gets knocked out of them through schooling and perhaps teachers going, that's ridiculous, you think you could be a superstar. But some people do make it. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole fact that quite often you could go to a little working men's club or a social club anywhere in the world and probably find someone who's way more talented vocally or comedically or acting fashion. There's loads of unknown people out there who are way more talented than the famous people. But for certain reasons, these people who become famous, their star continues to rise and shine. And if you start to scrape away at the facade of the bright lights, the razzle-dazzle, the showbiz veneer, under the surface is a very dark world. There was a circus clown called Grok years ago, and he was famous for being able to make everyone laugh. This is a true story, by the way. And around the era, a guy went to the doctor and he said, I'm depressed, I spend my life trying to help people feel better, and then I go home and there's nobody there, and I'm all on my own and I feel secluded, and it's like the world's against me and nobody loves me, nobody cares. And the doctor said, I've got the perfect answer for you. The circus is in town and Grok the clown's around and he's famous for making people laugh. Go and see him. And this guy says, Doctor, I can't do that. And the doctor goes, why not? He said, because I am Grok. And obviously he didn't recognise him because he didn't have the makeup on, the silly hat and whatnot. And there is that stereotype that comedians are quite often dark, depressive people behind. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule. Of course there are. I'm not saying this applies 100%. But people, actors, quite often, they're acting, they get so involved in acting parts in things, especially if they get really successful, that there can become blurred lines between what's real and what's not real. Especially if they go into dangerous ground of using Stravinsky's method acting, where they're not, the phrase is don't act, be, where they actually take on the feelings for real. So they're getting a mixed up world. But fame itself, what is fame? Fame, if you're not careful, it's great to recognise people, and fame on a low level, like, well done, you've won an award, or well done, you've achieved something, excellent. But when fame takes on the famous for being famous moniker that it is these days with reality TV, and a lot of so-called stars who aren't actually particularly talented compared to if you compared them to people who are unknown, there's a lot more talented individuals, but they just have to have a great PR company or a great management company. Quite often there is, not always, but quite often there's a hidden agenda. The powers that be, the people who write the scripts, are quite often very financially rich people, and their key thing is to become richer. And part of that, because they're interlinked, as we'll talk about later when we get onto the media and stuff, is to give people the illusion, the idea that they've got a sense of freedom. But by giving people that illusion and idea, a fantasy to focus on, well, people are so focused and caught up in the, oh, what if, wouldn't it be wonderful if that could happen to us? They're spending so much time thinking what if, that they're not spending any time doing something constructive that could actually turn that into a reality for them. So in actual fact, by apparently giving people hope and making them feel better, what they're actually doing quite often, social engineering, conditioning on purpose, is to distract people with these dreams, goals, hopes and ambitions in a manner where they end up doing nothing that could possibly make them become reality. And also, there's also the element of hiding things in plain sight. This happens in stage plays, it happens in films especially. You know, the Matrix trilogy of films, I would argue that they are a guidebook to what's really going on in life rather than works of fiction. I would say that they are, if you do your research, a guidebook to what's really going on in the world. But it's hidden in plain sight. They're telling you in things like The Matrix or in other things, they're telling you that, you know, there can be things going on behind the scenes where the powers that be want to rule the world and make a one world government. And these come out in storylines of recent films. And because it's so blatantly, they're telling you this is happening, again, cognitive dissonance kicks in. Because if this was people's mentality, the way it's conditioned is that clearly we put this in a film and this film's labelled science fiction or drama, so therefore it's not true. It's to condition people to the idea that these things are not true, so that if something seeps out into the consciousness of this has happened, people will just laugh at it and go, no, 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 no. Oh, you sound like that film I watched or that play that I saw or that book that I read, work of fiction. It's because it gets into the person's head that it's false, it's not true, so that when it becomes clearer to some who examine and question everything, then the mass populace are blinded to it because they've already been conditioned to the idea that it's not true, if that makes sense. So sometimes, literally, when you're watching something, you're thinking, wow, wouldn't it be scary if that was going on in the world? You know, wouldn't it be scary if everything was being listened into without us knowing, and our human rights were being taken away more and more behind the scenes? Well, lo and behold, do some investigation, check it out, do some research, and scaringly, yes, it is scary, you will find that they're having a laugh at the mass populace's expense. They're going, this is happening, but they're doing it in a way where people see it as entertainment and get desensitized to it as the idea it's something good because they've attached an emotion. You know, if someone goes and sees this on a night out, a date night with their loved ones, they're feeling loved up, and they go home and say, oh, wasn't that a great film? Their memory stores it as a nice experience. So now state-dependent memory, learning and behaviour, if something comes up, if that film's context mentioned taking rights away or, you know, things going on behind the scenes, if somebody mentions that's going on in real life, their memory banks will go searching and state-dependent memory, learning and behaviour. Last time that subject matter came up, they were with their loved ones, holding hands or kissing. So oxytocin, the chemicals were released in their body and they were feeling good, and more serotonin. And basically it triggers off good feelings, which flicks in cognitive dissonance even more because they're not going to face up to the idea that something that brings back happy memories could be negative. But the powers that be know this, so that is why they use films and stage productions, even music concerts, because music's an interesting one. Films, the scripts and narratives have messages in to brainwash and disorientate people, but music, wow, the lyrics, people don't often listen to lyrics. Something that can sound upbeat, and this is just an example because my daughter's into musicals, but from Annie, was that, excuse the terrible attempt at singing. There's that, the sun's gonna come out tomorrow. And it sounds all upbeat and like, wow, it will be better tomorrow. But when you listen to the words, there's actually a sentence in it, I may be paraphrasing it, but it's along the lines of, tomorrow will never come, so I will never see you. And it's actually negative and bad, this song, but the music sounds up-tempo and upbeat. And most people will not consciously get or examine what the real lyrics are, but they're taking in this message because it's going in consciously as something good. The critical faculty doesn't analyse it and doesn't see it as a danger, so it goes directly into the unconscious mind that does recognise the subliminal, embedded message of negativity, and something that's apparently upbeat is weighing people down negatively. It happens massively with pop songs. Audibly, it happens through embedded suggestions, subvocal commands, negative narratives within the lyrics that are not obviously there but go in and weigh people down. And visually, quite often it happens through dark, sometimes even satanic visual imagery. So, you know, what's apparently marketed as a world of entertainment, film, music, dance and theatre is about making money, obviously, on one level, but it's also about socially conditioning and brainwashing people and anchoring them almost like Pavlov's dog, classical conditioning. The bell rang every time that they were given food, and then after a while they could ring the bell and the dogs would salivate without even food being there. In the same way, if people get used to watching a certain type of entertainment, and it's when they've got happy memories connected to it, in the future when something bad may be happening in politics or something that the powers that be want to distract from, they can throw out storylines in television soaps conveniently, or put on television purposely films that they know people are going to watch that will trigger off feelings, thoughts and emotions that will distract them from the bigger picture of what's going on over here.